Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Victory Talk. Happy Friday, everybody. Woo! It's Friday, y'all, and Fridays in fall. I don't know where you're tuning in from, but it's a little dark outside out here already, y'all. I'm not ready. I don't know about y'all ladies, but I'm not ready. I need a gradual transition.
You already know.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
It's your girl Key signing on for Victory Talk, and we got Lady J in the house.
Yay.
And our sister Harriet is joining us this evening.
Woo, 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 woo.
We are ready for some hot topics, y'all. We got some good stuff as usual. So go ahead and call somebody, text somebody, tweet somebody, knock on the door, holler out the window, whatever it is that you need to do, and let everybody know that Victory Talk is on, y'all. Before we get started tonight, Sister Harriet, do you want to say hey to the people and anything you want to say before we get in good?
I just love the Lord, and I think this Victory Talk is such a wonderful venue for anyone that wants to hear something that makes them think a little bit, and that we can be kind of casual and just say what's on our mind and our hearts. And we can be transparent.
Yes.
Absolutely. So we say welcome to you. And I guess we're about ready to get started and jump on in there. So our first topic this evening that we want to start off with is we're going to talk about, what do I want to call it? We're going to talk about entitlement. That's what I'm going to call it. Financial entitlement, y'all. So Anderson Cooper, who is the 360 host, and he actually does a lot. He's been on TV for a really long time for anybody who doesn't know who he is. But he's 54 years old, and he said that he doesn't plan to leave his 17-month-old son Wyatt an inheritance when he dies. He said, I don't know what I'll have on the episode of Morning Meeting podcast. He says, I'm not that interested in money, but I don't intend to have some sort of pot of gold for my son. I'll go with what my parents said. College will be paid for, and then you got to get on it. So keep in mind that his net worth as of 2021 was 110 to 200 million with an annual salary of 12 million. Wow. So our first question for tonight is, do you think that children should be entitled to an inheritance if the parents are wealthy? Or do you agree with Anderson just to maybe set up a trust fund only, or maybe meet somewhere in the middle? What do y'all think?
Well, Anderson Cooper is a Vanderbilt. They have money going way back. So when you're always around money, it doesn't have the same effect on you as if it's new money or money that you just see. And the Bible says a good man leaves a godly inheritance for his children. And it's supposed to be perpetual. Those children are supposed to leave an inheritance for their children. So, I'm just going by what the word says. But if they need help, I believe if they need help before that, you give them the help and you teach them to manage their money, their time, and their talent. You do that, and they take advantage of opportunities and to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I don't believe in leaving it to no cat or to two little doggies. I don't believe that stuff.
Listen, I have heard so many people, and this is just regular everyday people, okay? I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna leave my, my insurance money to my cat or my, my dog or something like that. For real? Listen, y'all, come on now. Let's be real. Yeah. The cat gonna die. The dog gonna die. I mean, we gonna eventually die, God willing. But you leaving it to, I don't know. But anyway, I kind of like ride the fence on that, and maybe I don't. I do feel as though our children need to learn how to be able to support themselves and to take care of themselves. At the same time, I do believe that if it were me, I'm gonna look out for my family. I'm gonna look out for people.
Yeah.
That's just because and once again, and Harriet, I hear you, you know what the word of God says, and you're right. And the word of God says also that charity begins at home. You got to take care of the people that's right there in your own backyard. So I believe that I would look out for my family, my friends, you know, things of that nature, and make sure. Now, I don't agree with, you know, enabling our children,
right,
you know, making it so easy for them that they don't have to, you know, get up and y'all know, y'all have heard us say it before. Listen, we made our children swim. Okay. I mean, literally, we put them in a position where they had to, you know, do for themselves. And that was one of the best things that we could have done for them. So I really feel as though, you know, it's merit on both sides of it. But moreover, you know, I'm going to say, you know, I feel like, you know, you look out for your family. You know, you make them maybe that, you know, put it where once they reach a certain age and they've achieved certain goals, you know what I'm saying? That then they can, you know, access it or whatever, or access it at increments, you know. But definitely, yeah, I believe that they got to get theirs. They got to get theirs.
That's where I was kind of, you know, on the same page of thought in saying that, you know, I thought, and maybe he'll change his mind, but I thought that just saying that he's going to pay for college and that it was a little bit harsh, because in my mind, you know, yes, I don't want my child to feel the sense of entitlement. I want them to not only, you know, understand the value of money, but not it away. You know, so I'm right there with you on maybe, you know, I like how people set up trust, and, you know, you get a certain amount at 18, you get a certain amount at 21, just to make sure that the foundation has been laid. But, you know, I said, oh, whoa, you know, he's got that kind of money, and he just said college is it. And after that, you on your own. I'm like, I think he'll change his mind a little bit. I mean, his child is 17 months old, y'all.
Right.
And he's a first time, you know, parent. So,
yes,
you know, it all sounds good, you know, when we,
in theory,
this,
right,
and this is what I'm going to do. And then that all goes out the window. But yeah, I thought that maybe I don't know, maybe he should put a little something to, and I'm sure he will. I'm sure he'll put something else to the side and kind of, you know, incorporate it the best way he sees fit. But I do think that the wealthy parents who kind of silver spoon their kids and do too much for them, they kind of, you know, it's kind of a disservice to them, in my opinion, because
yes,
you know, to never know what it feels like to actually work for something, to have your own, you know, you just kind of lack that when you're handed everything on a silver platter. And you know, like, where do you learn your life lessons from in those cases? So
right. We have a couple comments. If I can, you know, before we go to our next topic, I'm sorry, Tia. Hey, Tia Parker says, I believe both are the right thing to do. Leave something and teach them to gain their own as well. Tia, I really agree with you. And that's what I was saying. I believe that it is important that, you know, we look out for them at the same time, but teach them. You know, they're not going to know unless we teach them. It's our job to teach them, because if we don't teach them, the world won't teach them. And that's a lot of the issue in our society now, that parents, and whether or not you have 2 cents to leave them, or whether or not you have millions to leave them, people, we have to teach our children. We have to teach them. Yes. And we have a B Banks. Hello, B. We're not sure where you are joining with us from, but
I know who that is.
You know
that's Blair. Hi,
Blair. Hi, Blair. Blair says, I believe in generational wealth. I want mine to have better opportunities than I had. Yes. I think that's at the core of every parent. At least I pray that it is at the core of every parent. We want our children to have better, to do better, to be better, to live better than what we have. So yes, I just so wholeheartedly agree with you. And so as we are talking about that, that transitions us to our next topic. And listen, I don't know if this falls under the topic of entitlement or not, but it rides the fence. Yeah, it's riding it right along there with it. A white student pushed out of a multicultural space at Arizona State for being offensive. So let me share this with you. 2 white male students sitting in a common area at Arizona State University were asked to leave by 2 female students of color because they were in what was considered a multicultural space, according to a video that's viral, circulating virally on social media. One of the women told the white students, who had a Police Lives Matter sticker on his laptop, that he was offensive. The one of the white students responded, "What did I do wrong?" She then told them that they were making the space uncomfortable. As an Asian bystander began to defend the white students towards the end of the video, but the argument continued. Ultimately, one of the white students angrily said he pays the same tuition as the activist and works 60 hours a week to make money because his parents doesn't just give him stuff. So, and then there was a comment on Twitter. This is a comment on Twitter, y'all. Y'all know how Twitter can get real raw sometimes. It says, "I thought the 1960s is where we stopped segregation. Now minorities are segregating themselves in 2020s. Our elders that ended segregation would be taking us all to the woodshed if they could." So my question is, do you feel that people of color should be entitled to separate spaces? Also, how do you feel about the comment from Twitter regarding self-segregation?
Ooh, who wants to go first?
Who wants to go first? Okay, so let me just go ahead.
I mean, I know what I want to say, but you go ahead first.
So one of the things that I have issue with this is that I don't see why it mattered if the person had a Black Lives Matter sticker on their laptop. It's not that it's just the stickers, or that quote or saying was not just, only for, us to be able to say or to be able to share. If they are supporting that Black Lives Matter, I don't see what was wrong with that. I really don't see what was wrong with that. And at the same time, I think, and maybe, my background is a little, I won't say convoluted, but it's a little mixture. Okay. So I feel as though that, is it wrong that, those of other race were in their space? Was that space just designated for them? And if so, then why? Because I agree, segregation, we fighting not to be, we fighting not to, be held back and, repressed and all that stuff. So why would we want to separate ourselves? Or, you know what I'm saying? So that's my thought on it.
It's like we can't have it both ways.
Right.
Sometimes we want to do the whole, multicultural thing. And if they weren't acting out of order, I don't think they should have been bothered, because sometimes you go to multicultural thing and the multicultural people, some of us get out of order.
Right.
And sometimes we have to look at, racism plays on the person who is, it's against, and also for the person who is doing it. So we have to be very careful that we don't become the oppressor.
Yes.
We have to be careful that we don't, I'm okay now. I can do whatever I want now. I have a certain amount of freedom. And maybe you did something to me in the past, but I have the right to do this. And everything, just because to me, it goes back to what you were saying about sometimes entitlement. We feel we're entitled to do certain things because maybe it was done to us, like we were there and it happened. But as long as they weren't acting out of order, and maybe they were genuinely trying to learn something about the culture, and you don't know who's somebody's mother or great grandpapa or daddy is, you don't know those things.
And that's what
And everyone that looks a certain color may not indeed be that color. And look at our families, my family too. We have grandchildren. We have nieces and nephews that have a Caucasian father or African-American mother or Asian father or a Spanish mother. So we have to be very careful because we are teaching this generation to hate all over again.
Oh, that's it right there. You said something right there.
I want to jump in there real quick before we get too far, because I watched the video and you're right. So on the video, they started recording and basically the short version of what is happening is that they're two activists. So y'all know how active, it's not just an average person, Black person feeling like, okay, this is active people very strongly about whatever it is their cause is.
Right.
They are ride or die. They are, don't ask me no questions. It is what it is. I don't hear nothing. And so the two white students were sitting at the table in peace and quiet, just studying from where they started recording. And they just kind of walked up on them and aggressively said, it was cursing and everything in the video. They're just like, why are you here? Why are you here? This is our space. You guys basically saying that they have any other space because of their color. And this is the one thing that we have. And so why are you guys intruding on it? And from my standpoint, I'm just like, okay, I get what you're saying. But that's why the person on Twitter was saying what they're saying. And Sister Harriet was just saying the same thing. We have to be careful with, we want our rights and we want equality and we want these things, but yet we can't then in turn to this reverse racism and be spewing hatred and nastiness towards people trying to get our point across.
Right.
And so the young man stood up and he was angry and he's like, I work 60 hours a week to be here basically. And I feel like he felt like he had to defend himself because he's like, well, I have every right to be here, just like you do. And then the girls, they just to me, it was just really a poor representation of the cause and they got upset because it said their sticker said police lives matter. And so, we as Black people tend to feel like that's a slap in the face because being an officer is an occupation. It's not a race.
Right.
And so, you know what I mean? And so they kind of feel like that whole police lives matter was like, a slap in the face towards the cause of Black Lives Matter and what, everything that is stood for. Yeah, so that was kind of where they were. But I'm just like, I'm watching the video and I'm like, sis, queens, y'all, this is not it.
Yeah.
Because you're basically like harassing these students and you're causing a scene. And then there was an Asian guy that was sticking up for the white students and like, hey, you guys are like, now this is me. I'm Asian, so I'm of mixed race. So I'm, fitting in with y'all. And if I'm telling you you're wrong, like you're wrong. So that's a touchy subject. I get it, but we just, like you said, we got to be careful with our delivery.
But also maybe those white kids, well, what did they learn because of that? There's always a lesson in everything that we do. What did they learn? And maybe if they had just let them sit there, then they would have learned something about why the activism. They would have learned something close and personal because all these multicultural people are there. And we're the minority. So let's just listen. And we are teaching with everything that we do. Or everything we don't do, we're teaching a lesson.
I love it.
So do you guys feel as though that people of color should be entitled to separate spaces?
If you want to have something particularly, then it's a way that you can word it. It's certain places that you can have it, and if it's in an open forum type of place, then that means that anyone can come in.
A public place.
If it's in a public place, anybody can come in.
Listen,
I think that I don't agree with because it speaks to what the Twitter comment was saying. I'm like, okay, and Sister Harriet hit the nail on the head earlier when she said, I mean, we can't have it both ways.
Right.
We fought so hard to be inclusive and to be able to go where we wanted to go, eat where we wanted to eat, sit where we wanted to sit. And now you're trying to put us back in that box. I feel like, I mean, you can have your organizations, have your groups, you march, you protest, you do all of that. But to say that just reminds me of the restaurants back in the day with the
luncheon counter. That's what I was thinking.
That's what I was thinking too.
In that headspace, it took me right back to the lunch counter protest. And I really feel as though it's not the way. And listen, I don't want to go back there. I'm thankful. Thank you, Jesus. I did not come up in that time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I feel bad, but because I've seen how people were treated. And if they were yelling and talking to them in the same manner, that 50 some years ago, or 60 some years ago, that our ancestors were treated like, listen, you just set us back how many years?
Absolutely.
That's
yeah.
I don't feel, and I really don't. I feel like I agree with you, Key. I agree that if you need a certain space for a certain event, then perhaps it should not be in a public place.
Right.
It sounds as if they were in the school, they were at the school, at the university. That's right. It's a public place. And yes,
they're paying their tuition to be there just like you are.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's what my thought was. Yeah. And if I'm paying my tuition and I'm working and listen, my parents are paying a lot of gas for me to go, to school. Listen, if I want to walk the halls, if I'm allowed to walk the halls at 2 a.m. by administration. Now, if administration had said, no, you can't be here, that's a horse of another color. You know what I'm saying?
And my thing is that also too, what if that was their only quiet space?
Right.
You live in dorms and you got parties and you got commotion and just noise. And, this is a quiet space where I can just, zone out and
do what I gotta do.
This might be the only space that I could find. And now you're literally kicking me out of it.
Right.
And like one of you guys said, our ancestors fought for the desegregation of schools. There were schools that were on lockdown for 2 years because they wanted to do the segregation, and everybody, the black people were like, okay, but the white people no. So they closed down school, and we missed so much. And like I said, we are doing the same thing, segregating, and we, as much as we want to, we do not live in this world by ourselves. And we have to, at some point, learn to get along, learn to be civil. And sometimes it seems so unfair.
Yeah.
But just think, like I said, our ancestors paid the price.
Yeah.
And they didn't pay the price for us to do that. They did not go through that. And if you saw the old footage, they poured ketchup on them and mustard and they would put cigarettes in their car. They would do things, and I would look at it and I was like, we know today that would not work. We already know that would not work. They did that so that the playing field would be kind of level for us to walk on.
Yes.
And now where we stand on that field, if we choose to walk or crawl or fall down, that's our business. But we got to do better.
Absolutely.
We've got to do better.
We have any comments before I move on to the next?
Miss Victoria said we should be happy for the support no matter where it comes from. We cannot fight this battle alone. Yes, Miss Vicky.
And who knows? And just to piggyback off of that, who knows? These young men could have been, you know, the next ones to be marching with us for social injustice or for whatever. And now y'all done humiliated, alienated them, and made them feel a way to where, you know, that's two supporters that could have been that you just lost.
Right.
And they could have had some of that Vanderbilt money, some of that what you call it, Cooper money, and maybe they were going around to see where was they going to put some money at.
Right.
You don't know, because God will move on people and they don't even know it's God. Maybe they had $1 million, and from that they
never know.
Well, they won't be getting this money.
Yeah.
Because they are not in what's the word, inclusive. They still want to be separate. Right. We better be careful. Blessings come in big disguises.
In big disguises. Yeah.
All right, y'all. So we're gonna roll right on down to our next one now. And you know, it's funny because when we put these things together and you know come up with this content, it just winds up like flowing. It's just every time, like it's so amazing how one thing is connected to the next. So now we're gonna talk a little bit about these churn. Okay. So Six Flags had to close early during Fright Fest after a Saturday night vandalism and fights. So this happened last weekend. The Six Flags in PG County said that they will now shorten park hours and close by 9 o'clock each day throughout the duration of Fright Fest, which is its annual Halloween event. On Saturday night, the park closed more than an hour ahead of schedule because multiple fights and acts of vandalism broke out on park grounds. I don't know if y'all saw this video, but I watched the video and I was mortified, y'all. These kids were, I mean, the police said that there was damage to some vehicles. The video showed the kids jumping up and down on cars, smashing people's windows, glass being broken, and fighting. And so there have been acts of increasing violence at local schools on every level since the building reopened, from teachers and administrators being assaulted, guns and ammunition being found in classrooms.
Yeah, I saw that.
2 students were stabbed on Wednesday at a school in Anne Arundel County, which stemmed from a neighborhood fight almost 2 weeks before. And more recently, an email went out to some local schools regarding a TikTok challenge. So I got this email 2 days ago. There's a challenge called Devious Licks that is encouraging these kids to engage in behavior like destroying and stealing school property and members.
Yes.
So what do you guys think is really going on with these children, and what, if anything, can we do to get them back on track? Or do you think it's just a lost cause, or what? What are we doing?
I always go to the parents. Where
Me too.
are the parents? Where? I remember, and it was a couple years ago. I remember this young lady, you know, this young mother who her children were, her son was a part of some rioting that was going on over at Mondawmin Mall. And you know, African American sister, okay? And listen, when she saw her child out there, she went out there and handled him, okay? I mean, she, you know what? I feel, and I felt as though she was correct. I know that people, they want to press charges against her. They want to lock her up, this, that, and the third. But listen, if the parents don't get involved, if the parents don't, you know, handle their children or, you know, make them respectful, because I always believe that it starts at home. And it didn't just start when they got out in the street. It didn't just start when they got to the park.
That's right.
It wasn't like that, you know, my friends are not going to coerce me to do some things that I don't want to do. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I think that a lot of it starts with at home. What's going on? Parents, come on. We have got to be aware, look, know what's going on. You kind of know when your child is acting different, acting a different type of way, acting out. And when you see it, it has to be addressed. And I think that one of the other things that I feel as though needs to take place is we need to start addressing our children and handling situations in a more positive way.
Yes.
In a more positive way. And, just punishing them and sending them to their rooms or just taking their social media devices and and the third. That doesn't work.
Right.
That doesn't work.
It might work the first go round, but you can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results.
There has to be consequences and repercussions for your actions. And the greater your actions, the more severe your actions, the more severe your consequences and repercussions need to be.
And I was talking with somebody that I worked with earlier today about this situation, and I'm like, I really feel like at this point it's going to have to be an example made out of some of these kids, because as much as I don't want to see, our children, our youth institutionalized or kicked out of school or whatever have you, but I just really feel like when people see that they can get away with certain things and there's no,
it's going to keep escalating.
It's just going to keep escalating. And I'm like, I literally, there was a, and I told my husband the other day, I said, I'm really ready to start a TikTok account just so that I can keep track of what is happening, because we don't allow our kids on social media. It is just absolutely no. We have 9 and 12 and no. Because it's too much going on nowadays. But they literally had it was sickening. They had month by month broken down, where 1 month is jab a woman in her chest. 1 month was, destroy school property. 1 month was gather as many kids as you can at one time and pick a kid and just jump them. And these kids are doing this stuff. I saw a thing, a little alert in my neighborhood pop up on one of these groups I'm in. Some of the youth in my neighborhood, which is relative, it's been quiet for 6 years, y'all. We live kind of down here in the sticks, and a group of teenagers have been circling around lately. And apparently the police got called because they were setting stuff on fire and trying to break in people's cars or something the other day.
The accountability factor is almost gone in our society. When adults can commit crimes and don't even serve time or pay a fine, or either they get community service and they should be jailed, or misappropriate or inappropriate word was said to a child, and then the child reacts to it. Then the child gets in trouble, either with the teacher or whoever is the authority figure.
Yeah.
But that accountability, and a lot of it, our children, they have so much against them. Just growing up, just growing up in this world, especially in America, where we have, and other people in other parts of the world do not have. And sometimes I wish we could send our children away for a week or two to a country that's like Haiti or certain parts of Africa, Asia, just a week. Don't put them in prison. That's just going to reinforce the negative, harden them, make them hard, But if you send somebody where there is poverty, and you send someone where people don't have basic water and they don't even have basic toilet paper, that person will begin to think about, how am I going to live in this world and get along with somebody else and not offend them?
Yeah.
And I we tell our children sometimes that we talk about what happened on the bus. I said, if the teacher ever calls me about your behavior on the bus, I don't care what everyone else is doing, your name is not on their birth certificate.
Yeah.
You're part of this family, and you're not just representing yourself, you're representing this family. And if you break something, or some infraction, we're gonna have to go to court.
Yeah.
Honest, people who have never even seen it, we're gonna have to go to court, and we're gonna have to pay for something that you did.
Mhm.
So you're gonna be working that stuff off. You can forget about. You will get your 3 meals.
And that's it.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you sound like my mother.
I know that's
growing
right.
back. I remember growing up. Listen,
Uh,
Carrie did not play. Okay, I was scared of my mama. My mama.
I'm still scared of mine.
I was right.
I'm still scared of mine too. Yes. Listen.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, I was scared of mama. We got some comments in there, y'all.
Yes.
Tia Parker says there has to be a level of accountability.
Mm-hmm. Go Tia.
And I agree. Yes, Tia. Sharkel said, it disappeared on me. Sharkel says, unfortunately, children girl, you preaching. Unfortunately, children are having children, and some of them have no one to teach them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Hey, Cynthia.
Sad, but
hey,
true.
how are you? Sharkel said you also have parents who don't want everyone else to say anything to their child.
Yes, that's a big thing.
To their child when they act out. What happened to the village? Girl, the village concept is weak.
Yeah. And we got another comment. Sorry, Miss Victoria said it seems that children, the same thing. It seems that children are raising children. Parents are afraid of their children. Parents trying to be their children's friends. You know how your kid doesn't have a job. Why are they coming in your house with money and expensive items? Yes. And y'all not asking no questions.
And you're not asking no questions.
And last of the writers on YouTube says, "Speak, Black Queens. You lead the way. Young ladies are watching at all times. Teach them."
Yes.
And sometimes we have to learn to use this 2-letter word. No.
Just a no.
But why can't I go out with them?
No.
Why can't
why
can't I have that? No. Because if you start to, because I've experienced it, you start to explain it before you know it, because they're wise. The Bible speaks about how, wise they are, and they will wrap you up in that thing, and you'll be like, okay,
just go.
And that's exactly what. So I said no. I said, if you want to learn, get it in another language, then you find out all the different languages. It's going to be no. But why can't I wear this? No. And if that doesn't work, you will find a wardrobe change. Then you think.
Listen, you didn't ask my mother why.
I know.
She said it's
I know.
No. Listen, it wasn't no talking her into it or asking her why or explaining your side of your point of view or this, that.
Yes.
The first time I part my lips to say why, they got swole, and I didn't say why no more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Put that backhand.
Shoot.
We got to look. We got to look. But now when you look at them, they look you up and down like they're going to throw down.
They better not. Not in these parts.
I've seen some stuff, and I'm like, good God Almighty.
Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah. Well, let's move on, y'all. Let's move on, because I really want to talk about this topic.
Okay. Lord have mercy.
Yeah. This hurt. This topic, like, put like a real, that fear, it just instilled like my whole insides quivered. A 4-year-old mistakenly given an adult dose of the COVID-19 vaccine instead of the flu shot. This student, this 4-year-old girl right here in Maryland was given the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine instead of the seasonal flu shot she was scheduled to receive at her local pharmacy, according to the Baltimore Sun. Victoria Oliveria brought her daughter to get the flu vaccine to a Walgreens in Baltimore, where a pharmacist, where the pharmacist mistakenly administered her an adult dose of the Pfizer vaccine. The vaccine has not been approved has not yet been approved for children under 12 years old. And a spokesperson for the Walgreens told Fox News in an email that patient safety is the company's top priority. So I wonder how this happened.
Right.
Events like this are extremely rare, and we take this matter very seriously. He also wrote in the statement that we are in touch with the patient's family and we have apologized. Our multi-step vaccination procedure includes several safety checks to minimize the chance of human error. We've recently reviewed the process with our pharmacy staff in order to prevent a future occurrence. So my question is this, y'all. What are your thoughts on this? And do you think that an apology is enough? And I'm just going to say no.
With some zeros behind it.
Listen.
Sorry.
I'm going to own a franchise of Walgreens, okay?
Right.
Certain things are just unacceptable mistakes. You can't even call it a mistake. Like, how do you, if you guys have all of these safety procedures in place, how could you possibly make that mistake?
Right.
And then and to make matters worse, okay, it's not even approved and safe for a 12-year-old. This is a 4-year-old baby that could have died. And, prayerfully, there will be no side effects, long-term effects, because this just happened this week. And so I'm just like, y'all won't know. And you hate to say money, but at the same time, if you can't take it back. You can't undo it. Take the medicine back out of her system, so an apology? What? I can't
Sharkel said you will be surprised how often things like this happen.
I really wouldn't be though, but it, because but I'm and parents, grandparents, godparents, daycare parents, aunties, anybody who loves children, who has children, who's responsible for children, who comes in contact with children. I just can't even wrap my mind around this.
I can't even imagine how that parent.
But that's sometimes we have to, when we doing these things with our children or even with us, we have to, because I know me, I'm very like, you sure that's Pfizer, not Johnson? Can I see? And they'll be like, oh, sure. Sometimes you, as the parent or as the adult with the child, you have to ask. But sometimes we feel so squeamish. We feel it's, we've been, and as people of color, we've been taught to be very polite. We've been taught to be polite. So we figured to say that would be rude. But this is your life. When I do anything with my grandchildren, I make sure.
Oh, no, I ask all the questions. Listen, I'm not worried about offending anybody. I want to see the labels. I want to read, what you're doing. I need, just like, when we went, my son got to the age to get some vaccine that they wanted him to get at 11. And they're like trying to rush and get it. And they're like, okay, there's only a 2-year window for him to get it. So she's pressing. And I'm like, my husband and I make decisions like this together. He's not here. I don't know anything about this, and you handed me a little pamphlet to read over really quickly with something as serious as a vaccine. No, I'm gonna get back to you once I do my research on this, and we'll decide if that's something that we want to do. So, we just had, and what I think may have happened, and this is just me speculating, how you go to, I don't know how they do it in the pharmacy, but a lot of times at a doctor's office, they put the stuff in the shots. They get a list of, whatever shots, and they put them in. So when they bring them in, they just kind of take the plastic off and get ready. I'm thinking that they probably had them like on a tray and somebody picked up the wrong one or something. But y'all, you can't be making mistakes that can cost people their lives, literally.
And you don't know the
scary.
And you don't know the long-term effects.
That's what I'm saying.
You don't know.
So let me ask you guys this. Do you think that it is good practice to take your child, especially in that age range, to, you know, your pharmacy for your flu shots and things of that nature?
I do the doctor's office for, like, even when I was getting my kids the flu vaccine, we were doing it in our doctor's office. We didn't, you know, because I mean, people would have to do, you know, what they have to do, but I'm pretty sure that most doctor's offices or people who have primary care, they offer these things. So I just feel like it might be a little safer. It might be a little cleaner. It might be, you know what I'm saying? Less room for error. Like,
yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
I feel like that's something I want to track. If my child has gotten a shot, I want a track. I want it listed on their, you know, medical history. You know, when they're getting something put into them, you know, it's one thing for us. I mean, it's not one of my things to do. That's just me. For me, I'm not going to the pharmacy or whatever to get my shots. I'm not doing it. But especially not for my children. I think that there should be, you know, your primary care doctor, your pediatrician should be able to look at their medical, you know, background, their history, and say, oh, in 2000, you know, whatever, or 2021, little Susie got, you know, the flu shot, and, you know, so I just feel as though that I'm not sure that that's a good practice. You know, I know people do what's best for them, you know, but that was just my 2 cents on that thought.
And Miss Victoria said, Charkel said exactly, question everything. And Miss Victoria said, we really have to do better when it comes to human life. There are no accidents. I'm sorry, is not acceptable. And Charkel said exactly, accountability. Because and you know, and like I'm saying, I'm getting back like to the money thing. Listen, y'all can say I'm sorry, me to the bank, because
show me how sorry you are.
Unfortunately, some people are really okay. And this took me to a whole nother, you know, conversation with my husband the other day. I'm like, you know, that's just like people that have stuff, they find stuff in their food in the restaurant, and the restaurant's like, oh, we apologize and we offer you a food voucher. First of all, I'm not coming back. Okay,
right. So keep your voucher.
I had something in my food, I don't want your voucher, number one. And number two, you know, you can't, certain things, you, like I said, you just can't say I'm sorry for. It's just not, you know, acceptable. And in this case, I hope that mom has contacted an attorney. I really do, because we are too sometimes forgiving. And you know, they'll boo-hoo and sob and, oh, we're so sorry, and what can we do? You run me my money. Okay, that's
amen.
So I can set aside a little trust fund for my baby that you just potentially harmed.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I agree.
Woo, child. That one, yeah. All right, so I think we got time to probably get one more in, y'all. You know, this be so good and juicy, and we just get carried away, and it's just it's good. All right, this actually might carry us over a little bit. I don't know. Hopefully, our producer don't fuss us out, but this one is a little heavy. So, Gloria Estefan opens up about childhood sexual abuse. The title of the article was, it was someone that my mother trusted. So for anyone who doesn't know, she is a Cuban-American singer, songwriter, actress, and businesswoman. So she opened up about childhood trauma for the first time on Thursday's episode of Red Table Talk, revealing that she was sexually abused by a relative at age 9. So she said that it was someone that her mother trusted. He was family, but not close family. He was in a position of power because her mom had put her in his music school, and he immediately started telling her how talented I was and how I needed special attention. So the mom felt lucky that he was focusing his kind of attention on me. So she further explained that she kept it for her mom as long as she could, but when she eventually told her mom called the police. Do y'all know the police told the mom not to press charges because they said she was going to go through worse trauma having to get on a stand and testify? She said, and that's the one thing that I feel bad about to this day, knowing that there must have been other victims. So the man whom Gloria calls a predator remained a respected member of the community. So y'all, on the heels of this R. Kelly verdict, I've been hearing mixed opinions about all of this. What are your thoughts on this? Are the parents to be held partially responsible, to blame for not knowing? Because the whole situation is sickening to me. And I'm just, it seems like, especially even in the R. Kelly situation, there are so many people coming to this man's defense or saying the girls were probably hot, the parents shouldn't have, let them go, blaming everything on the parents. And there's no accountability for the person. I'm like, something is not right with this picture. What do y'all have to say?
You want some, Harriet? Because
no, go ahead.
Okay, so here's it bothers me to my core. I know that there are times when parents don't know. I get that. You, as a parent, you don't always know when something like that has happened to your child. But when it's brought to your attention, I would expect as a parent that you would move heaven and earth to protect your child, to make sure that whoever the predator was consequences, repercussions have been dealt with. And listen, had it been one of mine, he'd have never made it to the jail.
Oh, see?
I'm sorry, I don't know. Listen, Lord.
We transparent over here.
Okay.
So
I might be sitting in his shoes, but not in his shoes because I did what he did. In his shoes because he no longer here to be tried for what he did.
I'm gonna tell you, I was so on, when my daughter Amanda first started going to daycare, I did something, and I did it for every grade almost up to high school. I volunteered in the classroom. I volunteered in the Sunday school. I volunteered to do the children's choir because I said, I want to see what's going on. And eventually I got jobs from those volunteering, but I wanted to see, because see, God bless my husband. So my husband would have murdered somebody if he knew they hurt his child, and he would have burnt down the school or their house. I already know that. So I was like trying to keep that from happening. And every day that my children went to school, every day, I would say, how was your day? If I didn't see them for a certain part of the day, and I would say, well, what was good about it? Talk to me. Yeah, and I would say, if anybody look at you funny, if you feel something uncomfortable, I don't care what I'm doing, you say grandma, or you say mom, or auntie, I got to talk to you. Yeah. Don't feel like you are a burden. Don't feel like we're not going to go through this with you. And it is not your fault if someone else has some type of sickness. Right. And we got to just really let them know how much that we care and we love them. But some people be like, well, you're always showing off anyway. You're always wriggling. You're always up in somebody's face. And even if that is true, that does not give this adult the right to hurt you and to take away your innocence.
Yeah, yeah.
And we know that in certain times, you wouldn't find the person no more. Certain societies ain't allow that. That person would just disappear.
And I was going to say, now we're kind of in a different day and age, because on one end, I don't want to say I blame the parents in these situations, but on one end, I do hold them accountable because, like you were saying, Sister Harriet, I do the same thing. I know I do the most, but I don't tell my children what I'm doing. But I look at them, when they come home, I check them over. My husband and I talk to them about their day. We ask them questions. We engage in conversation. And on top of that, call me overprotective, whatever it is that you want to call me. They don't go places with people. They're not, if you need a tutor, they're coming to the house if we can't do it. If you're going to dance class, I'm at dance class. No, I'm not dropping you off and going anywhere. When my daughter does gymnastics, I am in that lobby the entire time, and we can see through the glass. You know what I mean? Because gone are the days when we could send our kid with Uncle Leroy to go and take them somewhere to get ice cream or whatever. You just can't do that anymore. And so I'm just like, we can't control everything, but the things that we can, we need to be more hands-on, and to try to avoid things like this happening. And Miss Victoria says, I'm hot as fish grease. You should notice the difference in your child. Pay attention to your children when they start acting differently. There are signs and and signals that they will give if you're paying enough attention.
Yes.
You will know that something is off. You might not know right away exactly what it is, but even, the happy-go-lucky child with energy and is always laughing and playing, and they get quiet and reserved and they stop talking and they isolate themselves, and come on, y'all. It doesn't take a therapist nor a rocket scientist to notice when your child is acting off keel. It's
And let your children, your grandchildren, your godchildren, your nieces, let them have a voice. When the news is on, say, what do you think about that? Or sometimes you can look at their face and they'll be like, and I said, what? And they'll talk, because some of us adults are still in that era of children to be seen and not heard. We may not say it. Some of us, when our children start talking, we tell them to shut up, tell them, now if it's an adult conversation, then we have to keep telling them, you just be quiet. If you have to be in the room, you sit there. If not, because in the old days, you would go upstairs, you would go outside, and if you didn't, you got popped. And that's just the way it was. So we trying to do better with our physical part of the discipline. We trying so hard, and sometimes they push us. They push us there, but we trying so hard.
Yes.
We trying so hard. But let them know they have a voice, and ask them. And I said, if anybody ever, like I said, if you just don't feel comfortable, and I've seen some situations where they haven't felt comfortable, and I said, whatever reason it was, I'm glad that I didn't prompt them to stay in that atmosphere.
Yeah.
And in this instance with the R. Kelly thing, even though it's umpteen years later, he is now at least having to face the consequences. And I feel so bad that she spent her whole life holding on to this. And this person, imagine how many more people he potentially hurt because, the mom chose to listen to the police.
That's what I wanted to talk about. Yes. The police.
How could you? I don't care how prominent of a figure. I don't care who this person is. How could you advise somebody to keep something like that quiet?
Right. Right. Yeah.
That's awful, because coming from, especially certain cultures and stuff like that, they hold people like the police and stuff to a certain level of authority or whatever. So whatever they say, they kind of be like, okay, well, they said to do this, so this is what we. Man, it's awful.
Yeah, it is. It is. I just.
And then sometimes as parents, we feel something about a group of people, or we feel something about this person, whether they're a family member, a neighbor, extended family, and we have to learn to go with that gut feeling too.
Yeah.
To learn to say, you know what? I noticed when my so-and-so is around so-and-so, I noticed it's just something. And if you talk to another parent or says, blah, 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 you find out that it's not. A lot of times we think, oh, it's just my imagination. And it's saving you from jail, and it's saving your child from a lifetime of misery.
Yeah.
You got to go sometime with that gut and that Holy Ghost feeling too.
Yeah.
Whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Miss Victoria said, money talks. They may have been paid off. And yes, Miss Victoria, that is a lot of it.
They were, in his case, they were.
Yeah. That is a lot of it. All right, y'all. On a lighter note, because we don't want to close out on this note, because this is heavy. So on a lighter note, I want to talk about autumn. I want to talk about fall. Because y'all already know I'm over here. I'm so thankful, for the seasons. I love the colors and this, that, and the third, but I don't like the cold. And I've been saying all day today, I'm cold. It didn't get out of the 70. It didn't get up to 70. Okay. It didn't get up to 70 over here. So I'm cold, but y'all already know kind of how I feel about autumn. But the word autumn is clearly the most elegant way to describe a season. One word, color. The food is supremely comforting. Pumpkin flavored everything. Salted caramel is in season, and caramel apples, yes. Wrapping yourself up in a warm, cozy scarf, drinking a warm mug of apple cider, going apple picking out the perfect pumpkin, going leaf peeping, baking a pie, wearing anything plaid, and Thanksgiving. Yes, Thanksgiving. So my question is, what are some things that you like or dislike about the fall or look forward to doing? As I was about to say, I love the colors. I love the leaves. I love a good fall smelling candle. I love a nice candle. I like opening up the house and letting the smell go through the house. I really enjoyed. The other night I sat on the deck and I was wrapped in my blankie and my little chair, and I had the little fire pit going, and I was drinking something warm, and that was nice and cozy. But I love the fact that the mosquitoes are dying off.
See, if
so
it's
that's
just
what
that.
I like about fall.
If it's just that.
Death to mosquitoes.
I just like the fact that the fall says we went through the summer. It's time to relax a little bit. It's time to regroup. It's time to just bask in the beauty of nature. And it's time for the scented candle. It's time to put cinnamon sticks and the orange peel on top of the stove and let it go through the house. It's time for, where we can move around a little more. Maybe have someone over and just have some nice soup and some nice cornbread or baked bread. It's time to relax, and everybody, on Christmas, I bought everybody those big oversized hoodies. And everybody could sit with their those nice fluffy socks and oversized hoodies. And I'm looking at them and they're looking at me like, what? I almost wanted to cry. And it was like, oh my gosh. Because it's like bringing families together, because it's like, it's getting darker outside quicker, and it's making us kind of slow down. The kids are even going to school. And I mean, when they come home, they are so tired. They take a nap. And we have to wake them up so they'll go back to sleep later. But it tells you, slow it down. It does something to your body.
Yeah, it does.
As you were reading all of those, it just got me extra excited.
Me too.
Fall is my favorite season too, Sharkel. I love the fall, and I too don't really like to be cold, and it's weird because I was born in the dead middle of winter, but I don't like to be cold, but I love everything else about fall. Yes. I love the leaves. I love raking the leaves and playing in them with the kids. I love cinnamon and pumpkin spice. I love baking. I love putting on my gospel music on Sunday morning and with the windows open and cleaning the house. And Miss Victoria talking about, come on, snowstorms, girl, you jumping way ahead. We talk about fall, not winter. But fall is at the attire. I love boots and jackets.
Yes, I have knit dresses. I have a houndstooth coat and the boots. And I said, when it get really, really cold, I'm gonna put that stuff on. And you know, my little velour not jumpsuit, my little velour two-piece, the pants and the jacket.
Oh
And those
yeah.
pretty scarves and the
Oh,
my goodness. And gloves. Leather gloves and mittens.
and hot chocolate. You forgot about hot chocolate.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not big on the hot chocolate, but I love some warm cider.
Yeah.
I'm a tea girl.
Oh yes.
But I
nice
mean,
cup of
it's
tea.
something about it when you have that cup in your hand, a little cup of sunshine. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
And you are just drinking that tea or that hot chocolate or that cider or whatever.
Yeah.
And it fall allows you to like breathe.
Yes. Yes. Well, that is it. That is it. Yes, I love closing out on that note. Just want a couple shout outs. Welcome, Rosalind Patrick. I know this is your first time with us, I think, and we are excited that you joined in. Hey, Sharkel, Miss Victoria.
Cynthia Brinkley Scott has jumped on.
Yes. I've seen quite a few names out there. Amanda Swan. I think did I see Wanda? I'm not sure if I saw Wanda tonight. But yeah, so we are excited that you joined in with us tonight, and we love hot topics, and we apologize we ran over a little bit, but we got started a little bit late, but we are grateful that y'all hung in there with us. And so that is our show for tonight. Thank you, Harriet. Thank you, Harriet, for joining
was big
in
fun.
with us, and we had a good time.
Fun.
And you chatty, so we're gonna have you back again.
Yes.
I love it.
Great.
I love it.
Yes.
Women working together.
Yeah,
I love it.
We are excited and we are grateful. And so we're just going to say good night. We pray that you have an awesome week. For those of you out there that are members of Victorious Living Faith Ministries or friends and families, don't forget this is Communion Sunday, and we look forward to seeing you Sunday morning at 9 a.m. We're going to have a special guest, so y'all make sure y'all want to tune in and be on time, because you don't want to be late. Because if you be late, then you're going to miss her. So that's all I got. So I'm going to say good night. Key, you got anything you want to say?
Everybody have a blessed and safe and relaxing fall weekend.
Harriet, I'm going to let you say just a short snippet of something.
Enjoy the fall. Enjoy the fall. Enjoy the fall. Enjoy the fall.
Hey, Ethel Andrews, that is Godfather Andy's wife. Hey, thanks for joining us, and thank you everybody. We love y'all, and we look forward to seeing you right here next week at 7 p.m. next Friday for our next segment of Victory Talk. Enjoy, peace and blessings. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. God bless.